Hey, and welcome everyone to this very special interview that will be all about XRPL Commons, XAO DAO, and the new XRP Ledger Foundation. I'm your host, Krippenreiter, and with me are David Pachiri, Santiago Velez, and Fabio Marzella. David is the president and brain behind XRPL Commons, a nonprofit based in Paris that is dedicated to the XRPL and highly focused on empowering the XRPL ecosystem through education, funding, and incubation programs like the Cryo Residency in France. His background is in software engineering, and he's a community builder like no other. Then we have Santiago, co-founder and head of research and development advisor to the Syndric Solutions DLT platform for the management of digital assets. Co-founder and research and development lead at Block Digital Corporation to support Web3 using co-located compute and power generation, and also founding member and manager of the new XAO DAO. He's very well versed in the Flare and XRPL ecosystem, while his background is actually in nuclear engineering. Lastly, Fabio, who has over a decade of TradFi experience in banking, consulting, and trade finance. As a blockchain advocate, he sits on the board as a member of the Open Working Group that specializes in redefining global trade finance. He's also the founding and board director of the new XRP Ledger Foundation, founding member of the XAO DAO, part-time managing director of the Wave of Innovation blockchain conference, and full-time Italian. Okay, guys. How are you guys doing now that the sentiment is at extreme fear?
Yeah, this is a great intro. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kevin.
No problem, no problem.
Pretty good.
So
I think
guys,
we'll get through
yeah,
it. You know, bear markets. It's normal.
it's normal, right? We will get through like we always do, right? It's
Mhm.
just price after all. Yeah, David, give me some opium. What's new at Commons? What happened in the last few months?
Well, I'm going to try to summarize it because first, I think we were all together. Most of us were together in Singapore, so I'll try to start there. What happened after Apex? We just released the new community magazine that's focusing on AI and gaming. For us, it was a lot of work to see the exploration of the intersection between AI and blockchain, what it could really mean in terms of projects, in terms of tools, in terms of business opportunities. So we try to grasp that and deliver something that the community can use, leverage, whether you're technical or not technical, to really understand the depth of the transformation that lays ahead. We've worked this summer on hosting something that I was dreaming of for the last 2 years, but because of the Olympics in Paris, we could not really do it last year. It was the boot camp dedicated to the core developers. So we brought together 18 C++ developers who came from all around the globe and worked for 2.5 weeks with Dennis Angel from XRPL Labs to learn about how the protocol works, how to add new amendments, how to participate to the conversations, how to test amendments. And we are now moving that content online. So for everyone who was interested but could not participate because of the constraint of being physically somewhere, we're now moving that online. And that's going to be, I think, the case for a lot of the content we have. I really love this idea of being in person, and we'll dive into that later. But we know that being in Paris physically is a big constraint for most of the people. So the content that we're producing will now live online. And most recently, we were in New York for Swell. We were in Roma, Italy for a hackathon. We are right now, part of the team is in Lisbon for a blockchain conference. We are going to host a hackathon next week in Paris. And on December the 10th, we have the demo day for the upcoming, we call it DeFi #2 cohort at the Aquarium. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what's happening right now, what has happened in the last 2-3 months. And everything will be compiled in a report. We're working right now on an impact report. Everything, not just everything we did, but also all the outcomes of what we did in the year 2025.
That's awesome. Like a lot. Like it's
Yeah,
it's happening, right?
I was tired just listening to it. That's tough. That's a lot.
Hopefully not tired of winning. Yeah, Santiago,
uh,
Fabio,
you,
first of all, congratulations for the launch, for the successful launch of XAO DAO. Maybe tell us a little bit about what happened. Like, what's next? What's new after now that the XAO DAO launched?
Well, I mean, we year and a half, I guess, in the making. We finally launched it. But like anything that it's good, there has to be someone has to put the stick between the wheels. So unfortunately, our X account got compromised. We're still fighting with the X to get it back. That's sort of somewhat stalled our announcements that we've got. We've got plenty of announcement coming up. And obviously, by doing that, it's also stalled some of the memberships, obviously, people onboarding on it. They're dribbling, I'd say. They're dribbling along. They're coming along. But yeah, success is in the making, put it this way.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'd say we're about 50% towards our goal, which our first goal is to get to 1,000 members, because that's a very important milestone for us. When we get to 1,000 members, it opens up voting for all of the various proposals that are built into our governance application. So our real focus right now is just getting the word out that membership is still something that people should get, and going to XAODAO.io, so that they can be part of this movement. Which that's the way I view it, is this is like a movement for our community, and we're just here really to express a bunch of the will and opinions of people who for a long time have been voiceless. So once we get to 1,000, we hope we're going to start kicking it off.
Just real quick, how close are we to 1,000?
About
Just a few more
halfway.
hundred?
Yeah, just
Okay.
about 500, pretty close to 500 members.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're getting close, and
nice.
that's with
It's getting
almost
long.
no social media activity. This is just organic. People have been kind of curious and hearing about us in different podcasts and such. So that's great. Once as Fabio mentioned, we have a litany of announcements ready to go in the queue once we get our X account back, and then our campaign is going to go in full gear. So we're really excited. What we don't want to do is, inadvertently drive traffic to the wrong place. We want to make sure people are safe when they engage with the application, and aren't diverted somewhere we don't want them to. So for right now, safety is the most important thing. But in the very near future, yeah, we're gonna go gangbusters.
Nice. I expect this will like crush everyone's expectations. Yeah, David. Yeah, David. Let's talk maybe about a little bit more about the XRP Ledger Foundation as well. About 1 year ago, basically a blog post got published in November, and the second one actually in February this year. But since then, there was nothing new communicated at all about the XRP Ledger Foundation. So what's going on there? Like basically, when XRP Ledger Foundation?
Yeah, well, this is a very valid question, and I understand there's a lot of expectations from the community. So I'm speaking on behalf of the foundation, but Fabio is also sitting at the board. So if you want to complete later, Fabio. So for everyone to understand, the foundation as of today is a fully fledged corporate entity. So it's a non-profit based in France. We reused the playbook that we had for the commons, for a simple reason, is that we already had every checks with a bank, because try to open a bank account for a crypto non-profit anywhere in Europe, you better know who you're talking to. So we try to reuse and leverage all the work we did formerly for commons. So we have a fully fledged entity. We have a bank account. We have a board, and we have a governance model, and we have been very active with the board to try to move things forward. So we started to investigate how we could organize committees, and how we could make forward progress with the community. At some point, we realized that the board is only a bunch of people who are doing some benevolent work for the greater good, or the sake of the community, if you will. So the big step that we're taking now is, and I mean, we've tried for a few months now, is to build a team. We need a team at the foundation that will be doing the actual work. So, not giving any names at the moment, but we're in conversation with people who've showed up a lot of support. We've asked from day one, what can I do for the foundation? How can I support it? And so these are conversations that we cannot really advertise or have open, because it's people's career. People actually currently have jobs and want to move. So these are conversations that we're trying to have. So early 2026, we can announce a team, a complete team of several people will be dedicated full time to the foundation. So we're talking here technical team, community team, and executive team. So there will be a start that will obviously help the foundation progress. It was far from being ideal, being only a board and not having people on the payroll from day one. But what people don't realize is that this foundation is a new entity. It needed to create a roadmap. So we started with, I would say, a dozen, maybe 20 people who came to France for a big brainstorming session in Paris to try to focus on on the roadmap of this new foundation, what this foundation is to be working on. One of the big topics was the infrastructure, of course, the UNL, but we came up with other ideas. What makes the XRPL a healthy protocol? We have a list that's everything I'm sharing here is public and available on our GitHub, on the foundation's GitHub. But basically, the protocol to stay healthy needs to be maintained, needs to be used, needs to be decentralized. And so we've designed a roadmap that we now hope this team will execute, and the board should stay hands off. That's one of the decisions we've made with Witze from Labs and with Luke and David from Ripple, is that we should not be involved in doing things. We should just create the conditions for people to meet, to work on the hard stuff, but not do the actual thing at the board. And it's tempting because we're a bunch of builders, a bunch of doers. So we were really tempted in doing things, but I think it's better for the decentralization of the ecosystem, for a safe, let's say, a safeguard or a governance model that allows for segregation of duty, that we have people who do and people who assess and define the direction. On that, Fabio, if you want to add anything, I'm sure I probably forgot half of it.
I'm just looking from the community point of view, because I know the community always thinks that the foundation gets dictated by Ripple, and Ripple tells us what to do. Even though we are a Ripple board member on board, again, there are 4 independent individuals. They're the ones making the decisions. The foundation obviously is also looking at becoming also somewhat self-sufficient, so without relying on funds from outside sources. So down the track, there will be an announcement in regards to how the foundation is going to be somewhat self-sufficient, and that will allow, obviously, for those funds to be utilized internally. Potentially, we haven't discussed this yet, maybe just voice it out, some grants or whatever might be the case. The good thing about is that XAO DAO being on the board and representing the community can virtually benefit from that as well. So, XAO DAO, obviously, it is built in a way that we need to be self-sufficient. We cannot rely on funding unless from outside sources decide to virtually grant us funds, whatever might be the case. But for proposals or anything that the community provides, obviously, we will look in for grants. Now, if it's something that the XAO DAO can, I guess, be in kind or being supportive with the foundation, by all means, we can bring the proposals to the foundations. The community obviously would have needed to have voted for that, and obviously passed the voting regime or structure, and then it will be up to the foundation to virtually say, hey, it's well worth it to fund it or not. So that's, I guess, the two sides of the coin, being on the board and as a foundation for the foundations, and also be on the board representing the XAO DAO.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of amend to that. It's very important for people to understand the separation between XAO DAO and the foundation. XAO DAO is a legally registered entity in the United States that's for profit, and we're here to represent the community and give a voice for that community in various initiatives, which will include making proposals to the foundation. And so Fabio's role as a board member there is to be that conduit between our organization and their organization, so that it's very clear what the community is asking for from the foundation at any given time. But as Fabio mentioned, there's a process by which our community expresses that, and that's on-chain governance. So if a proposal is put forth and people vote on it, it's not up to me or Fabio. We don't filter any of that. We are just the conduit. We act as that representative to communicate that to David and everyone else on the foundation, and then it's up to them to take it that step further. If they see it's something that is worth pursuing on behalf of the community, then it's their prerogative to push that initiative. And as Fabio mentioned, we'll partner with them to help and assist them in pushing things forward in that regard. But we're two totally separate and independent entities with our own charters. David's charter and on the foundation is very much a community benefit. It's going to benefit the ledger, the technology, the build, bring builders, but it really is a public good, right? Whereas Fabio and I, we're trying to represent something that likely is more of a for-profit endeavor. So it's just important to kind of point those things out.
Yeah, I think that's important to find the distinction between the two, because many people, I think, they will don't see the difference, even though it's important to get the difference. And David, maybe you already covered it to some certain degree. There are, if I go to the web page right now, I will see 4 core pillars, or on the web page they're called working groups. Maybe you can cover them a little bit, give an overview, and maybe also explain how Commons is involved in all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with how this, what's the philosophy behind the new foundation? The new foundation is acting as a forcing function or a coordinator for people who are already doing the work. So when you mentioned the UNL, when I mentioned the UNL, for instance, we have a group of people already on the default UNL published by the foundation. These people, they already meet, not on a regular basis, I would say. And the idea with this working group is to have a more structured way to communicate with the validators that are on the UNL, and also to communicate more often with the validators that are not on the UNL but would like to be and are good candidates. So organizing this community of validators is very, very important. Again, the XRP Ledger as a consensus that is different from others, where there's a need for, we call it proof of authority. There's a need for delegation of a certain group of validators, so entities, independent developers, independent infrastructure operators that are being chosen. They can be chosen by you as a user when you run your own client, or they can be chosen by an entity that has more clout. And so the foundation is one of them. Commons is one of them. Ripple is one of them. Others are also publishing their UNL. So unique node list. UNL stands for unique node list. The unique node list that is published by the foundation has more influence over network than other UNL. So this one needs to be cared for on a regular basis. And so we have this working group that brings together all the people who are already on the UNL, all the people, and when I say people, I mean people, entities, organizations. We have a wide array of the typology of validators is wide, but so all the people who are actually the validators on the network, who can decide to take the validators offline at some point. It happened recently. Some of them want to be more visible and contribute to the community. Every validator has their own idea of why they should contribute. One thing that is sure, they don't do that for the money, because as you know, we don't incentivize validators for their contribution. And so to make sure that the protocol stays healthy, this group of entities needs to be kept up to date. So this is what this working group is doing. with more or less success. If you listen to the community, a lot of people were not happy with the way, with the frequency of updates of the UNL. We've been working, behind the curtain. We've been working with Matt from Kudos, who was working with the foundation a lot, is still contributing on making that publication process super smooth and with as little human intervention as possible. So that's what we've been focused on, improving the publication process. And now with this new team, one of the people we're recruiting at the foundation will be in charge of operating this working group. So making sure we have regular check-ins, we have rituals, we have open calls with the community, and in particular with the validators. That's what the UNL working group is about. There's another one that is focused on core development. So this is already something that happens. A lot of the contributors, whether that at RippleX, that's the branch at Ripple that works on the protocol, or at XRPL Labs. XRPL Labs is the publisher of Xaman, I would say the most used wallet in the community. And they're also a huge infrastructure provider. They're contributing a lot to the new amendments, building the new amendments. Dennis in particular, but which is also very involved in design and architecture. So these conversations, they already happen. The contributors, they already share their thoughts on GitHub. All these conversations are open. What the working group, the core dev working group will do is have open conversations, meet on a regular basis, whether that's monthly or quarterly, where we can work on the roadmap collectively. There's this idea that Ripple influences a lot the development. Ripple has a team of 40 engineers that are dedicated, full-time working on the XRP Ledger. As we're building more entities around the XRP Ledger, we'll see more and more people contributing to the development of XRPL. And I can attest of that by seeing how motivated were the people who participated to our bootcamp last summer. Out of the 18, I think 6 of them worked on either documentation or bug patches or amendments. And so what I see is people are eager to contribute. The only thing is they need a way in. So having these open conversations about the roadmap will help that happen. And everyone is happy with having more contributors. The only thing is you need to make sure that they have the knowledge. You can trust their intention. Why I'm saying that is oftentimes people don't understand that the XRP Ledger is a common good. It doesn't belong to one actor in particular. It belongs to a community of contributors. People have their own reasons to contribute, but let's say an organization that is not well intended towards the XRP Ledger, that wants to see the XRP Ledger fail, they could, try to find their way into that. This is why it is hard to get into contributing to the XRP Ledger, but it is by design. It's made so we can make sure that we understand the intentions of the contributors. We know they're in for the long run. And once they're vetted in some ways, once they're proven why they're contributing and how they contribute, to what level they contribute, then it's almost open bar. All the contributions are welcome. So that's the second working group. We have another one that is dedicated to sustainability. And if we want the XRP Ledger to be well and alive 10 years from now, we need to understand what are the requirements, not only from a technical standpoint, but also from a business standpoint, from an impact standpoint. We now do some things at Commons. You were asking me how we're involved. So we're doing a few things at Commons that, in my opinion, should be done at the foundation level because they benefit the whole community. But we're doing that. We're doing them right now at Commons, and we'll hand over to the foundation in time. But for instance, when I'm talking about the sustainability, there's also like the carbon footprint, the CO2 footprint of the XRP Ledger. Until Commons started, it was done by people at Ripple and they were doing that using internal models. And so everyone agreed that it has to be an open process. How do you assess? How do you avoid, reduce, and offset the CO2 footprint of the XRPL? You cannot audit and patch at the same time. You cannot audit and offset at the same time. So we worked with two different institutes, research institutes, CCRI and the MICA Crypto Alliance, one in Germany, the other one in the UK. We wanted to have two different sources for this assessment. Okay, so to assess with different methodologies, what's the carbon footprint of the XRPL? They ran their numbers, and now the numbers are being published on XRPL Commons website. And then we need to offset. What does that mean? We need to buy the carbon credits that will be that will make the XRPL as seamless as possible in terms of footprint. Okay, we know we're running a bunch of computers, a bunch of servers. There's no way we can be zero carbon. There's no way we cannot produce carbon. Maybe someday when we have like 100% renewable energy for the whole network, which is not the case at the moment. So we know that we're going to emit carbon at the end of the year. We just need to make sure that we have a good assessment of what this overall footprint is, and then to assess it in a way that benefits the community. So we're trying to work with projects that are on the XRPL. So it's like, regenerative in a way, or creating value for the community as well as serving the community when we offset. And I don't want to go too far in that because we could talk about it for hours. But what I see is there are things that are really required that the community really needs right now that we're doing at Commons that over time will move over to the foundation. And in the meantime, we're just happy to contribute.
Yeah, I think so many topics. I like all these like core pillars or working groups are also like so at the core of what XAO DAO also aims at, right? I think XAO DAO is also in the position to make an impact, to be a part of all these working groups and help out to make the XRP Ledger a healthy protocol, right? I think Santiago, maybe I'm right with this, right?
Yeah, I just want to point out something David said that's very, very important for viewers to understand, and in particular about the consensus protocol for the XRP Ledger. So when you look at other consensus protocols and other, let's call them communities, crypto-related communities, let's call it Bitcoin or anything like Ethereum with proof of stake, there's a veneer there that the security and the block creation process requires either a lot of energy or requires a lot of capital in the form of staking. And when you strip away a lot of that technical, I would call obfuscation, what you get at the core is you still need human beings to coordinate with each other. You still need people to arrive at consensus about how they're going to make forward progress in this decentralized network, right? That people have to choose the software they're going to run on their nodes. People have to decide which of the code base they're going to consider Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other protocol. So what I think the beauty of the XRP Ledger is that it strips away all of that obfuscation, the layers of energy consumption, the technical complexity, and it makes it a purely political process, right? The people who run the validators on the XRP Ledger are there because they've proven to each other that they're trusted actors, that the code that they want to run has been tested, is it's verifiable, it's gone through battle tested processes. So at the end of the day, what the reason I fell in love with the XRP Ledger and the community is that it's how elegant that process is. Yes, it's sometimes not fully transparent. Yes, sometimes it's difficult to make inroads into that decision-making and political process. But at the end of the day, this is true for any other system. It just doesn't have a lot of the, window dressing. So I hope people, the takeaway for me for people watching is, if you want to participate in this process, and maybe you're not a very technical person, but you want to have a voice, we built the XAO DAO to be that voice, right? So when you join that community, you can have a way to express this to the people who are the decision makers. And so collectively, we can use our voice to steer the direction of both the code, the software, the code base, the types of products that are built on top, the hardware that's run, and the environmental footprint, et cetera. All these things that, all these values that we share with the foundation, you'll have a way to express it. So I really enjoyed listening to David talk about these elements, because I think they're at the core of what motivates Fabio and I in starting the DAO. So thank you.
Yeah,
And if
awesome.
I
I
just
think
may
that's
add,
yeah, go for it,
right
David.
now the foundation has four board members, but the vision is that it should have more. We've capped it, I think, to 8, just to make sure that we can operate. And we've learned from other crypto foundations. People think that everyone is a maximalist in the crypto world, and that no one speaks to no one. But it's totally, it's totally fake. Like, we all speak to each other. So we have a group, for instance, on the Commons that started giving a grant called Glow. I'll expand on that in a minute. But we have a Telegram group with other crypto foundations that give out grants, just to make sure that we blacklist the bad actors, making sure that we can share information. Because at the end of the day, we want every chain to succeed, because we're not really competing with each other. When it comes to the foundation, we need more voices. 4 is good. 4 is good enough. 2 is enough to have a collective. 3 is better. 4 is even better. But eventually, we'll bring more actors from the ecosystem that have shown goodwill, resilience. Sometimes you realize that people are in it for a quick buck, and others are there for the long run. So the foundation would welcome other type of entities. Right now, we have a big company, a nonprofit, the user-based DAO, but we would welcome other type of entities, research labs, maybe other corporations that are planning to use the XRPL. So maybe banks or others. Like, I'm saying that we want the board to be a reflection of what the community really is.
Yeah, and that's the true incentive, right? It says, you hear that a lot about the XRP ledger, that no incentive is the best incentive. There's always this tension or debate about how to compensate or incentivize validators. But the premise is that we don't introduce middlemen in transactions, right? And that the ledger is a public resource, but that means that people have to contribute to it because their personal incentive is aligned with the health of the network. If you're a company, you want to run a validator because you want to see forward progress on your transactions. You built your business logic on top of the technology, and you want to make sure it's reliable and it's going to do what you need to do for yourself. So we're all aligned in this effort collectively because we want to see the network grow and become healthy. You don't really need an additional incentive, because that could create a bias in why someone may be contributing to the network beyond just seeing its health and progression. As David said, there's could be a profit motive or some other motive that ultimately could be in contrast with the health of the network. And we've seen that in other blockchain networks where the incentives are misaligned. You get disastrous things that happen. So I think that the wisdom of that design choice is going to show itself over time, and it's going to continue to show itself. So that's another element that brought me to this community and to the XRP ledger, was not having those monetary incentives built into the consensus protocol.
Yeah, it's basically natural incentives versus artificial ones, right? You don't want the artificial ones because then you invite all the people you actually don't want in the network. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talking about the XRP Ledger Foundation, maybe, and this time also about some criticism, not about the foundation itself, but about the old foundation. Because back in the day, there was one point of criticism that was circulating, And this was that the old XRP Ledger Foundation wasn't actually interested in XRP, the asset itself, or in the price of XRP or on the XRP holders. Maybe anyone who has a meaning or an opinion on it. Do you think that's the right approach? Should the new XRP Ledger Foundation be hyper focused on the XRP Ledger, or should it also focus on XRP, the asset? Maybe David, if you start.
Yeah,
Sure.
maybe I'll just start with clearing the air about one thing. For several years, XRP was on the spot under the spotlight for maybe being considered security or not, and so it was. I would say it was really touchy for anyone to engage with XRP, the asset, and not with XRP Ledger, the technology. So I don't know what were the motivations for the former foundation not to engage on XRP at all. What I can say is we all benefit collectively from having a strong XRP. The more XRP is worth, the better it is for us because we have more power, more buying power in a way. We can do more. We have, as a nonprofit, I get part of my funding in XRP. I raise money from different sources, and some will fund XRPL Commons with XRP. I'm happier if XRP is strong. Because it means we can do more for the community, we can do more projects. The foundation will probably receive part of its funding in XRP too. I'm happier if XRP is strong. It means we can give to the community, we can invest more in infrastructure because as we're registering that today, November 18th, 2025. It is still hard to spend your crypto in the real world. So if you buy servers, you need to pay them in dollars or euro. If you pay salaries in France today, you cannot pay salaries in crypto. We've tried to, but it's not something the regulation will let you do. So you need to have at some point conversion with fiat, and that means the stronger the better. And with that said, there are a lot of competitions, a lot of conversations that I am not super involved in. But what I can say is I understand why a lot of people got into crypto and a lot of people got into XRP early on. It is a very promising technology and a very promising asset. And everything we do, whether at the foundation, at the DAO, or at Commons, should reflect positively on the XRP. So showing that there are usage for XRP, showing that there are many use cases for XRP is also a sign that it is a strong asset. Now people do whatever they want with it. It is not financial advice at all. I'm not a finance guy. I've said multiple times, but what I think is the alignment of interest for everyone in the community is that we succeed as a community. So for the holders, having a stronger tokens means return on their investment. For us, it means being capable of spending more for the community. That's where I stand.
I'll second that too, David. I think that's fantastic. I mean, I guess that's where the XAO DAO, once we actually got our treasury balance quite right on our front page of our landing page, so you can actually see your XRP being your membership token that you purchased, but also knowing that those funds are community funds, so you can actually see it going up, preferably going up all the time, not down. But yeah, you can see that balance create, and that's actually the beauty of being so transparent about it. So yeah, I agree with exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I was going to add that we made the XRP token at the center of our DAO. We didn't create a new token that has no function, or that a few insiders would have some disproportionate amount, have a disproportionate weight on the voting process for our proposals. We decided very early on, Fabio and I, that XRP should be the central focus of the governance process. So we use the XRP Ledger technology, the ledger, to mint our membership NFTs. So that way, everything is very transparent and on chain. But the XRP token itself is how we measure your governance power. Now, we put in some controls to make sure that a few whales couldn't, use their megaphone of holdings to have a larger voice than everybody else. So in our programmatic way that we translate XRP into voting power, we capped it. So that way you can only essentially, your voice can only become so large. We didn't want to drown out all of the smaller individuals of the XRP community who have minor holdings in XRP. We wanted to give them a fairly equitable voice. So, but, to step back, XRP and the XRPL stack is at the center of what the DAO does, and it will always be. And the transparency that comes with voting will always be something that we champion. We have all of our governance processes take place on the XRPL EVM sidechain with smart contracts, which is where we think it's appropriate. But at the end of the day, XRP is the main token.
I think we also have to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room when we talk about XRP and all of the XRP that exist in certain wallets. And that is Ripple, because of all the members that exist in the XRP Ledger Foundation. I know, like David, you said, in the future, there will be hopefully many more members. But right now we have XAO DAO, XRPL Labs, we have Commons and Ripple, of course, as a part of the new foundation. So I wonder how much freedom is there really for the XRP Ledger Foundation and its members, so of course also XAO DAO, to follow their own path without too much influence from one single entity like Ripple.
I cannot speak for Ripple.
You first,
I cannot speak for Ripple. But I would just say I started the Commons with this idea of building a hacker house. And the more value, the more results we were showing, the more I was able to raise money, in part from Ripple, and they were very supportive. But Ripple is not at the Commons board, for instance, and we never really engaged in having Ripple at the board of Commons, which I can say for the last 2.5 years I've worked in the community. I can say that Ripple gave me all the latitude I wanted. They never opposed any of my decisions. They never told me not to do anything. And again, I feel like if I'm sort of a free spirit. So if I want to engage with the Cardano community, I do that. If I want to attend a meeting with other entities that people would say like, "Oh wow, you're doing that as XRPL Commons." Well, yeah, I don't believe in tribalism at all, and so that's from my experience, Ripple has given me full latitude of using the funds they're providing the way I want. And the conversation is more about what is the impact. You're claiming that you can do that. Do it, and then we'll assess the output. You can see that with the foundation, it will be, I hope, the same philosophy where until now, Ripple has not dictated anything for the roadmap. Ripple has been sitting by sending David to a 2-day workshop in Paris. David is sort of a busy guy. David Schwartz. He came for the full length of the workshop. He voiced his opinions. He said how he saw the roadmap going forward, and then he said, "Then it's up to you to decide." And the foundation is its own entity. So my experience with Ripple is that I understand that people see a big corporate entity and sitting on a lot of XRPs, and so that may give them more influence. What I see is a company that is very focused on their own objectives, their own targets, their own strategy, and then they want to onboard the community on doing what's right for the XRPL. So, giving away the treasury, for instance, moving all the treasury to the foundation, I would say that's wishful thinking. I would say Ripple will put forward as much resources as the foundation needs, as long as the foundation provides positive output for the ecosystem. And again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Ripple, but this is my experience working with them for the last almost 3 years.
Yeah, when we talk about grants and funds, like I always wonder how do you guys stay self-sufficient, financially self-sufficient? Also, XAO DAO. I mean, you guys launched right now. It's all new. You have your treasury. What what mechanics can you leverage to become self-sufficient in the future, if not already? And if it's is it possible to become self-sufficient as XAO DAO without any Ripple funds or grants or help at all? Like, is there anything the XAO DAO can do? And maybe even is this even quantifiable at some point, Fabio?
Look, well, XAO DAO, obviously, we relied on our members. Okay, so our membership, that's basically what the XAO DAO will do, and eventually, that 1,000 mark becomes 2,000, 3,000, and so forth. So those funds then will be utilized, part of it for the granting part of it as well. What we're working already in the background, eventually, to generate an additional income or an additional income stream, is the XAO Hub. And that's virtually what we call the matchmaking system. So the different parts of it is XAO DAO, obviously, it's more linked towards XRP holders, where the XAO Hub is virtually open to the ecosystem. So we would like, obviously, to get developers from the other chains that are finding a difficulty to obtain grants or to obtain mentors or marketers for their project. And so that's virtually what Santiago and I are working now, is on this XAO Hub, which will eventually generate an additional income stream. To what extent we need funds is we're open. I mean, if Ripple decides tomorrow to give us a couple $1 million, we'll take it. No problem. All right, no problem. However, as David mentioned too, we're not dictated. We actually are dictated how we spend our money by the community. Part of the operating agreement that we've got is there is a portion of those funds which obviously we need to utilize for operating expenses and so forth. But down the track, if our treasury balance goes into the millions of dollars and we want to, Santiago and I can't even do anything. We want to buy a building, but we can't do it. We basically have to go to the community, put a proposal, and we say, okay, XAO DAO now wants to buy a building. And that's basically how we are able to spend the money and make those decisions. So as I said, Ripple is out of that picture from that point of view. But they're more than welcome to actually propose it as well.
Yeah, and
I hope they do.
I'll add to that too, because it's super important. You said, how is this how I guess how transparent, how can you quantify revenues for the XAO DAO? So XAO DAO, as I said way at the beginning, is a for-profit legal entity. We're here to make money and bring value to our community so that we can be self-sufficient and we can move on into the future on our own without any external support. So for us, it's about building products that bring value to the community. The community will, or it doesn't have to be the XRPL community, but in the example Fabio gave, XAO Hub, it's about creating a service, solving a problem for people that they have, and then by bringing value to them, we receive value in exchange. And in that way, we grow as both the XRP Ledger grows, as any of the other chains that we might service grow. But we also intend to make direct and indirect investments. So we will take and utilize the treasury according to the wishes of the community. That might mean engaging in DeFi related products. It might mean providing XRP as collateral for stablecoins. There's a lot of exciting opportunities that are coming into existence or already exist that give our community the ability to express value creation opportunities. So we're going to pursue every one of them. Our job as managers is to help find these things, communicate them to our community, and then let them decide. And it's also to listen to what the community is proposing for good ideas for how to create more value. So it's really a collective for-profit enterprise.
Nice. Now I think about, let's say now I think about becoming a member, like becoming a member to XAO DAO. Awesome. But also becoming a member to the XRP Ledger Foundation. When I remember back in the days, like in Singapore at Apex, there was there was the possibility to scan a QR code and join the membership program. Is the membership program from the XRP Ledger Foundation the same like the membership from XAO DAO? I don't think so, right? What is the difference? Are there any updates, David?
So yeah, the memberships from the foundation and the XAO DAO are not the same thing. Okay, just to clarify, you become a member of the XAO DAO when you enroll, pay your membership. At the foundation, the board initially wanted to have a membership that would be indexed on the Big Mac model. So, if you were in France, the membership would be that price. If you are in Thailand, it would be lower. Depending on where you live, you would pay a certain amount. That is just shows that you want to contribute not financially, but you want to be actively involved. We also have this model where people can get a membership for free, and they would get everything, access to everything, but they would not be involved in the voting process. The idea being, where do you stand with the community? We haven't activated it, so we have this big list of people who are pending their membership to be activated, for the sole purpose that we wanted to have a team to lead that initiative and not doing it at the board. Like this again, back to this philosophy and to this decision that the board has made to not do the work, but steer this entity where we need people to do the work. They can be from the community, they can do that selflessly, or they can be involved as an employee of the foundation and do that at as their full-time job. And we're leaning towards getting a team, and a strong team. When I say a team, it's we'll start with a few people, but we want to grow it. And at the end of the day, the foundation is this entity that acts as a coordination function, but also an entity that will centralize, and I'm using this word on purpose because I know that people's hair are going to go like that, but to centralize knowledge in a community that has building for 12, 13 years now. That David Schwartz has announced is going to retire from Ripple. What I see is there's room for new people, new faces to arise and shine. So hiring technical people at the foundation, they will build knowledge about the XRP Ledger, how it works, how it operates, how to run nodes, how to run validator, how to make sure that the infrastructure as a whole stays strong. And so the membership right now, we have this Rolodex of people who showed interest in becoming a member. We'll activate that in time when we have use for membership. Right now, all the information is available for free for everyone. And several people made this comment like, oh, if you're a foundation, you should operate transparently. Everything should be open. The conversation should be open to everyone. I agree with that. I also think that we need to create a safe space for people to voice their opinion. And if there's 10,000 people listening and reading what you are about to say, it's harder to be true in to voice your real opinion. Like everyone will think about the political effect of voicing something that may not be a cool opinion or a commonly shared opinion. So we need to have both. We need to have full transparency when it comes to decisions, but also to create this safe space where everyone in the community can voice an opinion that is not mainstream.
But then again, as an XRP holder, I already see the comments like price is down, sentiment is low. Why should I even care about memberships? Why should I care about governance? Or why should I care about XAO DAO, for example? Why should I care about paying XRP to become a member of something I might not even care too much about because it will maybe not influence the price at all? Santiago, maybe you can enlighten us here a little bit.
Well, first of all, the XAO DAO, our membership is permissionless. We don't even know who our members are. It's pseudo-anonymous in the sense that it's wallet-based on the ledger. So when people become a member of the XAO DAO, they retain their anonymity. So in that sense, they can make proposals and voice their opinion in privacy, in a sense, pseudo-anonymity. But why invest your time? Well, first of all, our membership fee is dollar denominated, but paid in XRP. So what I mean by that is right now it's a $10 fee, but you pay it in XRP. So if the price of XRP is, say $2.50, you would pay 4 XRP for your membership today. But next week it's $10, great. Then you pay 1 XRP. So the membership fee itself doesn't change with the volatility of the market, and all members come in at $10. So in that way, it's kind of an equalizer. But the reason you'd want to participate, particularly in a bear market, is that's when all the value of any of these projects really is built. Builders focus on building products in bear markets because that's what provides the narrative fuel for the bull market. When you build products and you build goods and services and things, and you build economy on top of this technology stack, what you're doing is you're planting a seed that's going to grow when the bull market does eventually happen. If you've been in this space long enough, you understand that this is cyclical and prices go up, prices go down. And what we're really trying to do is create long-term value appreciation, right? We're trying to create an ecosystem that will be here through the booms and busts. Many of the crypto ecosystems and communities have died. They've sprung up, they flare for like a firefly, and then they're gone forever. And we don't want that, and we don't think that will happen with the XRP community or the XRPL. We want to build a sustainable long-term path for growth and value creation into perpetuity. So the key here is zoom out and understand that if you build along with the DAO, you contribute to the foundation, you steer the direction of this network and this community, this is what is going to sustain the price appreciation, sustain the growth. That's really where your investment will benefit for the long term. So price appreciation is exciting and we all like it. But if you really believe in what this tech stack can do for humanity, zoom out and contribute in a way that will accrue this sustainably.
So one could say the chance gets higher that price appreciation will happen in the future if we build now, if we participate right now and care about the ecosystem, right, Fabio?
Yeah, that is correct. But also the other thing is I'm not a developer, okay? So I'm probably one of those ones that will turn around and say, why do I need to become a member of the XAO DAO if I don't actually would put a proposal through to develop something? The good thing about the XAO DAO is we thought of that action as well. So you can actually get, for the amount of XRP that you hold in your wallet, every month there is a snapshot. So obviously once you become a member, there's a snapshot of your holdings of XRP. And so every month until the end of the financial year. So based on the profits that the XAO DAO has done, and based on the holding that you had of the average of those 12 months, you actually can get a return on it. And I say you can get a return on it because the good thing is that those funds don't belong to myself or to Santiago or to the XAO DAO LLC. It belongs to the community. So the community then will decide, we got, for argument's sake, $1 million worth of profits. What are we going to do? Do we disperse them there back to the members, or do we invest them? So that's basically where we're trying to get those individuals that are sitting on the XRP, but not actually doing anything, waiting for this coin to eventually go to the moon, to put them to use. And that's the only way to do it, is basically with $10. You basically pay your membership, but you may have hundreds and thousands of XRP sitting there idle. You actually can benefit from it.
Yeah, and something David mentioned earlier about the challenge of making payments, say for salaries or overhead costs in an organization, is very high because crypto hasn't really been embedded into the financial infrastructure yet. At the XAO DAO, we already had that in mind, and the net profit distribution that Fabio was talking about, we intend to do it on the XRP Ledger. So community members will receive their proportional share of the net profits at the end of the year via the ledger. We hope to use the upcoming batch payment process so that anybody with their NFT in their membership NFT in their wallet, as those 12 snapshots occur throughout the year, we will know the correct apportionment for how much of the profits they receive. And we want to use the ledger to distribute those payments because that's naturally what it was designed for. So we already see this great tech stack that can help us facilitate what in the traditional sense you would have to do through the banking system and through traditional LLC structure. So just another thing that we built in right at the beginning.
That's how it should be, right?
David, if I
go ahead.
can just add one thing, because Kevin, you were asking about price appreciation, and I'm a bit of the party pooper here because what I've seen in the last 3-4 years being involved with the crypto community as a whole is that people should get involved if they believe in the tech, if they believe in the community, if they trust that there are visionary people in the community that will build businesses that will help others raise in the community. But the number of criteria that get in the way is cannot be computed by a human brain. You look at the macroeconomy, you look at the political scene, you look at the international events, you look at the price of Bitcoin, you look at the price of gold, everything gets in the way. And so for me, it's not correlated anymore to how much work, how much sweat the community puts in. It's more of a long-term, like really a long-term adoption path. And I've shared that a couple of times with the community. But if you look at how AI went from being a vague idea to becoming like a research paper that was sorted out in the 50s, in the 60s, to the mass adoption that we're seeing right now, and maybe even a bubble, it took 70 years. So for blockchain and crypto, we've been in the making for 15 years. So there's way to go before we are at a global adoption stage. And if we're all here talking about it, it's because we believe it's going to happen, and we're dedicated to making a career out of making that happen. But it's going to be a long run.
So we just need to wait a few more decades, right? Yeah, well, let's say I'm convinced. I'm an XRP holder. I'm convinced I want to take part in governance. I want to join the membership on the XAO DAO for now. Like later, also the XRPL Foundation, if it's launched at some point in time. But right now, I want to be part of the XAO DAO. Now that it's launched. Let's say I would want to write a proposal that makes the XAO DAO invest in Evernorth, for example, because I want to help Evernorth, not help Evernorth, but invest in Evernorth so that Evernorth is helping the XRPL. So that's the idea behind it. How, on a high level, how would I do that? Would I open a website or web page, and then I would, like with my Zaman wallet or Joey wallet, what would I have to do to make it all work?
So you become a member by either obviously joining with the Zam wallet. At the moment, we're working also with Bifrost. That should be launched not long. Again, they're the two wallets that we originally I guess assimilated ourselves with. But we can actually go down the track of adding other wallets. Again, we can add the wallets.
Just the community. Regular keys are supported as well, right? Santiago, do you know that? If regular keys are supported? Because if regular keys are supported, you could potentially use any wallet, because Zaman supports regular keys and you can sign via another wallet by signing in with Zaman. That should
Absolutely.
work, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anything
Awesome.
that manages your private keys ultimately can be abstracted. And we're going to integrate Wallet Connect, for example, and abstract a lot of that so that you can use the wallet of your choice. That's ultimately the goal, is to make it agnostic to the wallets. We just chose biggest bang for the buck initially was Zaman and Bifrost, but yeah, ultimately we'll abstract it so you can use your wallet of choice, of course. Go ahead, Fabio.
So going back to your proposal, so first of all, you need to consider yourself a politician, okay? So you need to lobby your community to make sure that the community will eventually vote for you or for your proposal. How much details you put in that proposal, it's up to you. You eventually will do it as a Word document and upload it as a PDF file. you will be able to select 3 different time frames that the voting will stop. I think it's about 7 days, 14 days, and 30 days. So that's how long you're going to give the community to vote. That's it, full stop. Once the voting windows closes, obviously the voting gets tallied and you actually can see it. You can actually see the voting live, but you won't know what the percentage component reflects if it's a yes or a no, because we don't want to actually give, for individuals that actually want to vote a yes, but they can see that the voting is already 60% no or 70% no, you deflate them. So you actually have that information right then and there. And then I guess once the voting is closed and let's say the proposal has been approved, then obviously it goes through. Simple as that. I mean, obviously, if it's got to do with funding, and you're basically saying the treasury of the DAO has to be sent to the new customer, by all means, that can be done. Again, part of the operating agreement, there is a portion of the treasury that needs to be allocated and remain in the DAO, as I mentioned before, for the operating expenses. But it's simple as that.
Yeah, and I would say that it's as important to reach a quorum. So in the operating agreement, if you don't advocate for your idea and your proposal enough, either because you couldn't get enough people to agree with you, or you couldn't get your message far and wide, you won't reach the quorum. And if you don't reach the quorum, then the proposal is nullified. It just does not pass. So it really is incumbent on you to build consensus in your community, advocate, communicate, reach out to other people, and convince them why your proposal is a good one. And if you do so and it gets passed, then the next phase is for Fabio and I to worry about how to implement it, how to execute on that proposal, how to spend the funds, how to come up with a timeline, a project plan, these kinds of elements. This is something that we'll be discovering in real time. Fabio and I have never run a DAO before. We will apply principles that you would in a traditional organization, but at the end of the day, we really need the support of the community to help us craft these proposals with the level of detail that is sufficient to implement them. And then we can worry about the resources, like where do we get the resources to execute these proposals? That will be the next problem. But the first thing is to give people a voice so that we can all hear what it is people need, what are their ideas, which I think are going to be very exciting. And we think we've given them a venue to do that.
Yeah, thanks guys for the interview. I have one last question, like closing words, like a really last question to end the interview and wrap it all up. We will start with David. It's a little bit cynic. The question is a little bit cynic, so be as honest as you want. Let's say it this way.
I'll try to.
If you had to name one aspect the XRPL ecosystem is in dire need right now, what would that be and how do we solve it?
I would say we need more bold and visionary entrepreneurs to enter our community. This is what I think we're lacking of. The developers, they're here, they show up when there are good ideas, when there are opportunities. We train a lot of developers. The thing is, why do they not stick on the long term for now? It's because they're the lack of opportunities, job opportunities for them. There are a few jobs opening, but they're behind closed doors. Like we need more, we need many, we need hundreds of them, so we can attract, we can grow our community, and that will come from having more projects, and the projects will come from people who have a vision for how to use the XRP Ledger, how to leverage blockchain in general, whether in startups or large companies. So how do we get them? I would say we need to go where the real problems are. When you look at the French ecosystem where I'm based in, we don't have a lot of problems. Let's be honest. I'm trying to be humble. The euro is the okay currency. The central bank in France, I'm not afraid that they're going to lock my account out. And you know, I'm talking from opinions I have shared with friends from Argentina, from Lebanon, from places where and builders that came to the aquarium from Nigeria, from Pakistan, from Mexico, from places where the local ecosystem is not as strong, the local currency is not as strong, and so they're facing real issues. And so when you're facing an issue and you're an entrepreneur, you try to solve it. So how will bring more entrepreneurs in the communities by going to meet with them wherever they are. So that's what we're trying to do next year.
Noble. Santiago.
Wow, it's tough to follow that. That was a good answer. We, we're committed to solving a problem for our community. And this isn't a plug. It's just, this is what we envisioned for our XAO Hub. We really wanted to create a matching engine, a dating service, whatever you want to call it. I think the XRPL community has everything it needs. It has all the kinds of people with all the kinds of skills that exist out in the world. We're million plus holders of XRP. So you've got lawyers, you've got marketers, you've got venture capital, you've got developers. Everything that we need is here in our community, but we can't find each other. We can't connect with each other. We don't have reputation systems. We don't have the tools that we need to organize ourselves effectively. So, to David's point, it's about how do we find these people? How do we enable them to find each other? And when you do that, you're going to see fireworks, because at that point, once we can all coordinate and use what we all have as these talents that are either inherent or we've cultivated in our professional lives, this ledger will explode. It'll explode in value and in activity, wallet creation, applications, you name it. But the first step is to build this really tight network of community and to have an application to do that. And that's Fabio and I's goal for the immediate future.
I'm going to the grassroots here. I mean, at the beginning, the XAO DAO was developed because of what I've heard from the community, especially from the developers, that they didn't get any support or they didn't know where to get the support. And from the other side, we have venture capitalists that did not know what projects they could invest into. So we want to virtually expose that now. So we want to give the developers a platform to do that, and also the venture capitalists to find out where they can actually invest into the money. And I'm talking venture capitalists, could be white angels, could be just investors. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing. And one extra thing that I like to see is, or focus on, is on the education part of things. So virtually touch base directly. And I know David is doing quite a good job with the Ubric, but in Australia, definitely, it will be my task virtually to start touching base with universities that offer blockchain courses or crypto courses in order virtually to make them, be aware of the XAO DAO, the XAO Hub, and comments and so forth. And I'm pretty sure that we'll have a chat to David. Maybe we can get him to come down to Australia and do an hackathon in Australia.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening in. It was a pleasure to ask all these questions, especially about the XRP Ledger Foundation, because these days it's very important to get to know more about XAO DAO and the foundation. And to keep building, because right now it's the time to build. We have the bear market right now. The sentiment is low, price is down. What else is there to do than to build right now, right? So keep on building, focus on it, focus on it, and focus on the ecosystem. The price will follow eventually. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
Till
us.
next time.
Till next time.
Till the next conversation.
All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.